Please welcome Provost, Executive Vice President, and Dean of the Graduate School, Roger Ward.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the University of Maryland, Baltimore's 2022 State of the University Address and recognition of our award winners. We are joined this afternoon by students, deans, vice presidents, faculty, and staff. As the state of Maryland's only health, law, and human services professional university, our mission is to improve the human condition and serve the public good of Maryland and society at large through education, research, clinical care, and service. Every day at UMB, we see people inspired to lean into that mission of service. This afternoon, we'll honor some of them. I'd like to now welcome President Bruce Jarrell on stage as we recognize our award winners. Now, I'd like to introduce the Founders Week Award winners. We are giving 5 Founders Week awards today, each signifying outstanding accomplishment in one of the many facets of UMB's mission. First is the David J. Ramsey Entrepreneur of the Year. This year's recipient is Dr. Alan Doctor, Professor, Department of Pediatrics, and Director of the Center of Blood Oxygen Transport and Hemostasis at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Congratulations, Dr. Doctor. The 2022 Researcher of the Year is Dr. Man Kiao Chong, Professor, Department of Neural and Pain Sciences, Assistant Dean of Research and Graduate Studies, and co-director of the UMB Center to Advance Chronic Pain Research at the School of Dentistry. Congratulations, Dr. Chong. This year's Educator of the Year Award is presented to Professor Richard Bolt, the T. Carroll Brown Professor of Law at the Francis King Carey School of Law. Unfortunately, Professor Bolt is unable to be with us this afternoon, but we send him our hearty congratulations. The 2022 Public Servant of the Year is Dr. Yolanda Ogbolu, Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Partnerships, Professional Education and Practice, and co-director of the Center for Health Equity and Outcomes Research at the School of Nursing. Congratulations, Dr. Ogbolu. And finally, and by no means least, the Student of the Year is Aishwarya Iyer, a MD PhD student from the School of Medicine and the Graduate School. Congratulations, Ms. Iyer. Well, I think I'm I am so grateful that we can showcase these remarkable colleagues and their amazing achievements. Please join me in a round of applause for our Founders Week award winners. I would now like to invite Senior Vice President Jim Hughes to join us on stage. You could applaud for Jim too. Here at UMB, the Catalyst campaign has attracted the interest and support of loyal alumni and benefactors to enhance faculty excellence, student scholarship, research, clinical initiatives, entrepreneurship, and community engagement. We can all be extremely proud this evening that under the leadership of campaign co-chairs Ellen Yankelow and Brian Gibbons, the Catalyst campaign has achieved a stellar milestone. The UMB Catalyst for Excellence honorees exemplify powerful advocacy for success, achievement, and philanthropy for their respective schools while serving as visionaries for future progress. They have accomplished much in their lives, personally and professionally. They've also accomplished much in their careers, in addition to devoting meaningful time, talent, and resources to numerous worthy causes. UMB, the City of Baltimore, and the State of Maryland are made much better through the impactful effort of these extraordinary individuals. Today, we celebrate their notable accomplishments. To our UMB community, and are deeply grateful for their tremendous impact and service. I'd like to now welcome the Catalyst for Excellence winners to the stage to be recognized. From the Francis King Carey School of Law, Brian Gibbons. From the School of Medicine, Maurice Reed. From the School of Nursing, Marjorie Bergerman. From the School of Pharmacy, John Gregory. From the School of Social Work, David Bernard. From the Graduate School, Albert Struck. And from the School of Dentistry, Karen Ivers, who unfortunately is unable to be here today. On behalf of the students, faculty, and staff at UMB, thank you to our Catalyst for Excellence. The UMB Foundation Distinguished Service Award recognizes the outstanding achievements of volunteers who have made substantial contributions to enhancing and sustaining the university. This year, UMB recognizes William Bill Conway Jr. and Joanne Barkett Conway. In December 2020, Bill and Joanne Conway pledged $13.8 million to the University of Maryland School of Nursing, the largest philanthropic gift in the school's history. The Conways made their first pledge of $5.2 million to the school in April 2015. Since then, they have committed nearly $30 million to the school. At the conclusion of their current pledges, They will have funded more than 830 Conway Scholars. Congratulations, Bill and Joanne. Thank you for your generosity, your time, and your talent. Congratulations to all our award winners. We are so proud of your accomplishments. Everyone can read more about their remarkable contributions to the university in your program. It's a testament to UMB that we have so many people from around the country committed to Baltimore and to the success of the university. Thank you.
And that is the end of Act 1 for the state of the university. And now it's on to Act 2.
Go, cellist.
Some of you may remember that movie. It was called MASH. When I was a medical student in Philadelphia a while ago, my wife Leslie and I went to see that movie. MASH was a story about a group of surgeons and nurses working in an army hospital in Korea. Hawkeye Pierce, as you may recall, was the main character. Hawkeye, his fellow surgeons and fellow nurses, took care of colleagues, many wounded soldiers with horrific injuries. I am sure they didn't want to be there, but there they were at the front in a tent saving lives. And not only did they treat really wide-ranging injuries, they also had to cope with their own emotions, their own stress and fatigue. It was a struggle, and you could see that in the movie. Movies like MASH made a deep mark on me, the terrors of war. But it was not until later in my career as a surgeon that I realized that something else had happened in Korea, something else really, really good. For you see, early in the war, when somebody had a serious leg injury and a blood vessel was involved, the standard Army procedure was remove the leg. Yeah, amputate it. Life was prioritized over limb. You can understand that. And you can guess that many men had severe leg injuries with a blood vessel injury. And almost half of those individuals would lose their leg and go back to the States with just one leg. Now, you can figure that's quite a burden for a young man to carry throughout the rest of his life. But I'm going to tell you, it's also a really hard pill for a surgeon to swallow, taking off the leg of a young man. You feel like you failed. You feel like you could have done better. So, of course, what do you do in that kind of situation? Well, there's two choices you can do. One, you can sort of say, that's life, that's the way it goes, shrug your shoulders, and move on with life. Or you can push back and ask a question. Isn't there a better way to do this? Several surgeons in Korea, in fact, did push back. They got very innovative on the battlefield, probably to their own risk. They began to fix the blood vessels, and by golly, they really got good at it. And when they turned around and looked at it, now 7% were losing their leg, rather than almost half losing their legs. A lot of legs were saved. And you can imagine the impact that that had on the individuals whose leg was saved. They went back to the States with 2 legs. I hope you can also imagine, as a surgeon, the joy that you would have of seeing this successful operation and retaining a leg. So if you think about that, terrible conditions, a war gave birth to a whole new medical discipline we call vascular surgery now, fixing blood vessels. You don't think a thing of it today, but back then, that was a new idea. And you can see that surgery took a huge leap. In fact, if you look throughout medicine, during war, there were many innovations, and you may not have thought that blood transfusion originated in the First World War, or you may not know that helicopters originated in the Korean War. You may not even know that the NIH, the National Institute of Health, began as a consequence of the Second World War. Same thing could be said true in the social sciences, in technology, in engineering. Many of the things we take for granted today came because of war. And it makes you realize that war creates the mindset to innovate. So every time you hear a helicopter land on top of shock trauma, or you see a bag of blood hanging in a movie scene, or you hear somebody's getting their blood vessels fixed, or you get an NIH grant, just remember, where'd that come from? It came from war. Now you might wonder, why am I talking about war? But don't you think maybe we've been in a war the past couple of years? We've been in a war against COVID. We've certainly been in a war against social injustice. You could even argue there's been an assault on our democracy. I think so. And for sure, those battles aren't over by any means at this point in time. But as I look back, we've learned a lot during these past couple of years. We've had many innovations as a consequence of this war, from these wars already. And these struggles, I believe, have allowed us to ask much clearer questions about what's in store for us in the future. To ask the question, what can we do better? What will our innovation be? What will our vascular surgery be? You might wonder, why does it look like a party here on stage? Why did we go to all this trouble? Because I felt it was important to have a party. Think about all the accomplishments all of you in the audience and we on stage have done in the past several years. They are inspiring to me, what you've done. You all should be on this stage with me. There's not enough room, but you've earned it. You've earned to be in the limelight in what we've done at this institution over the past several years. To be here to celebrate with your friends, but also to have some conversation with them about the future. So that's what we're going to do for the next couple of minutes. Now, one of our strongest friends, one of UMB's strongest friends, is our clinical partner, the University of Maryland Medical Center, UMS, that's what we call it. Together, in a united front, UMB and UMS led the counterattack on COVID, day in and day out. COVID was a funny, interesting, unusual virus. It threw many curveballs at us. You know what? Our people hit that ball every time it came at us. We took care of the sickest patients, got them better. Together. We did very well together. I don't know about you, but I oftentimes look back on that period of time with awe in what we accomplished. So many people stepped forward. It took personal fortitude. People took risk, personal risk. They were putting others first. That's respect for your fellow man and woman. You brought life and hope to all of us. So one of our best partners here is Dr. Mohan Santha. You all know Dr. Santha. Stand up, Dr. Santha. Out of COVID, we learned to forge the strongest partnership and relationship you could ever imagine. Out of COVID. How do we leverage this partnership, Mohan?
So first, Dr. Jarrell, great party, and thanks for the invite, for sure. But as you say, COVID taught us a lot of things, right? It taught us and it reminded us of the strength of our partnership and the impact that we have when we act together. And so when you think about all of the lessons of COVID, for all of the challenge, we reminded ourselves of the differential impact and the differential responsibility we have to serve our communities. There is no you, me. There is no us, them, right? There is only we. And when we think about that through the lens of our community, I think, the next great challenge that we will take on together is how we define our roles as anchor institutions within our communities. Because yes, we'll continue to serve the mission of education. We will serve the mission of acute health care, but where we together will have, I think, disproportionate impact is where we show our communities that we understand there is no us, them. There is no you, they, there is only we. And we together have a responsibility to ensure that we lift up our communities. And in doing so, we're going to serve our mission, and we're going to remind each other, like we've done through COVID, that we are far better together. So when I think about, so how are we going to go about this? There is an asset that I talk about. We have incredible human talent, right? So that is an incredible asset. We are blessed to have differential resources, and that is an asset. But there's an asset that we don't talk about that I believe is going to inform us going forward in the future, and that is the asset of data. When I think about data, I think about an untapped resource that we are going to be able to leverage for the good of how we serve our mission. When I think about, I heard you often describe this, improving the human condition. When I think about the role that data has in that, I'm inspired that our partnership is only going to continue to grow. So again, thanks for the invite to the party. Appreciate it. And I'm going to give you back that.
I want to just introduce two other people to you. Dr. Bert O'Malley, who's here, who's the CEO and president of University of Maryland Medical Center, our partner. And Dr. Mark Gladwin, stand up please, Mark, who is our new dean of the School of Medicine. Thank you. UMB has another powerful partnership. It's a research partnership, and it's another partnership that I take particular pride in being a part of. Some of you may have heard of the partnership called Empower. It's our formal relationship with College Park. It's in its 11th year. It's a very strong relationship. And Empower is what I call a strategic partnership for a reason. UMB has all the science and techniques that College Park doesn't have, and College Park has all the special science and things that we don't have. We fit together like a puzzle. What a great kind of marriage to have. But today we want to announce another big step that we're taking soon, and Dr. Santha just mentioned it a minute ago. You'll hear a big announcement about this tomorrow, but I'm going to tell you just a little bit about it today. Our UMB and College Park partnership is creating a new joint research institute, and we're adding a third partner to that, the University of Maryland Medical System, as part of this research institute. This will be an institute that will be based and focused on intelligent health computing. All of our strengths fit together, again, like a puzzle. To make this institute powerful, we will put all of our energy into making this happen, and I'm going to predict to you that new science will emerge. I'm certain that new ideas about patient care will emerge, and I'm equally sure that in the end, we will learn more about other important topics, such as things we need to know more about, like social determinants of health, etc. We expect to transform healthcare in Maryland, and this state will be much better for that. So with that, I would like to introduce our other partner here, Dr. Jarrell Pines. Dr. Pines is the president of University of Maryland College Park. He and I through our partnership, we have come to expect innovation. In fact, we live now in innovation. That's what Empower has done for us. So Jarrell, tell us what's in the future for innovation in our partnerships.
Well, first of all, President Jarrell, thank you for inviting all of us to be here today with our partners in UMB. And first, let me thank Chancellor Perman. He was president of UMB when this strategic partnership was developed, and it's called Senate Bill 1092, the Empower relationship and Empower partnership that brought our two institutions together. And as Dr. Santha was speaking towards, we are all better together when we go together as one against initiatives that we care about. This new partnership that President Jarrell is talking about today is one of the most significant partnerships that we've ever pulled together. We want to transform care like it's never been done before by combining biomedical advances like genomics, computational algorithms like we do at College Park, and the use of big data as spoken to by Dr. Santha, and bring that together to truly transform human health and transform care and maybe even the healthcare system in the future. It is a strategic partnership that we know will lead to breakthroughs and advances. In fact, it has already done that. I want to share a story with you that I brought to share with this community. to give you the vision of what we're talking about. It's about a lady by the name of Melanie Nix. Melanie Nix's family has a history of breast cancer, a history that Melanie could not escape when she tested positive for the BRCA gene mutations linked to breast cancer in 2008. This is a real story. After 16 rounds of chemotherapy and breast reconstruction surgery, she had to have both ovaries removed to further reduce risks of cancer in the future. But Melanie is now cancer-free thanks to precision medicine. Melanie's positive test results for the BRCA gene mutations instantly concerned her medical team. BRCA gene mutations are linked to breast and ovarian cancer, as you all know. Further tests confirmed that she had triple-negative breast cancer, a very aggressive form of breast cancer that disproportionately affects African Americans. Her best chance for cancer-free survival was to have bilateral mastectomy. Melanie says that this type of tailored precision medicine and treatment gave her hope. So much hope that Melanie stated the following: "Precision medicine offers the hope that by the time my daughter is at an age when she considers genetic testing, new targeted treatments will be available to give her additional choices for preserving her health." That is the hope that we hope to evolve in this new partnership. Thank you.
Please stay standing. I just want to remind you all, that was an engineer speaking, not a physician, okay? And isn't that wonderful?
He's an engineer by training too, just to let you, chemical engineer undergrad.
Now, if I could get Dr. Suntha just to stand here for a minute, because I want to point something out to the audience. You see three great institutions, their presidents, standing before you. You've not seen this before. This is a really special opportunity. We are working together for the future. This is a first, it's a big step forward, and I have to tell you, I'm pumped. I think this is really cool. Thank you. Oops. Darrell can go anytime. As a university, we could have faltered many times in many ways in the past several years. Faltered in our missions, in how we functioned, in offering new degrees and programs. The past several years have been really trying. And as you know, there have been many distractions and many obstacles put in our way. But we didn't falter, we flourished. And I'm going to give you some examples of how we flourished. We flourished in research. I don't need to tell any of you in this room about the power and strength of UMB's research program. It goes deep, it's strong, it continues to grow. Two great examples of that are the Founders Week Researcher of the Year, whom you just met, Dr. Man Kyo Chung in the School of Dentistry, studying the basic mechanisms of pain and how to manage chronic pain better. A godsend if you've got chronic or severe pain or a terminal illness. And then there's also our Founders Week Entrepreneur of the Year, Dr. Alan Doctor. He's discovered some new artificial red blood cell strategies. He developed his own company called Calicite, And it's a great example of how medicine and engineering working together can come up with new ideas. Imagine artificial blood on the shelf ready to go. It's been a dream of many of us for many years. Both of them are highly successful, and they're emblematic of UMB. UMB is full of investigators like this. But we flourished in many other areas too. One area that we flourished has been in the classroom, and you heard about our Founders Week Educator of the Year, Professor Richard Bolt from the School of Law. What he's done is he's mentored and influenced a generation of law students with incredible passion in the classroom. And thanks to efforts like Professor Bolt and many other faculty like him, believe it or not, UMB's 7,000 plus students stayed at their studies. Their young professional careers were not postponed by the past years. They advanced on schedule. Their careers moved forward. That is a major achievement. Thank you for that. There are other ways we could have faltered as well during this time. One of them is simply moving forward as a university, all the things you have to do to keep a university going. But we did not falter. During that time, we recruited 4 new deans, a dean of law, of medicine, of social work, and of the graduate school. 4. We recruited a new provost, Dr. Ward. We recruited a new vice president for equity, diversity, and inclusion, Dr. Forbes Berthoud. And many of you here in the audience and up on this stage helped us recruit these individuals. We also had 3 inaugural events to celebrate faculty, highlight the excellence in our faculty. And some of you may have seen our Distinguished University Professors Awards, our Empower Professors Awards, and at University Convocation you saw 3 faculty members highlighted. This institution is about its faculty and students, and we need to do more to highlight them. We also started a UMB faculty development and leadership program for our regular faculty who want to become leaders in the community. That's really an important thing to do. And the other way we could have sat back, but we didn't sit back during all this time, was in developing new ideas and new programs, new degrees. It would have been easy to just pause and, well, you couldn't put your feet up because so much was going on in the clinical arena. But if that takes all of your energy, oh, it's okay to not do these other things. Wrong, and that's not what we did here. In fact, we did a whole lot of new programs, and I just want to mention a couple to you because you may not know about them. One of them is the physician assistant program. We now have a fully accredited physician assistant program. Those students will graduate, and I hope that they practice in Maryland. That's the experience. We stood up a COVID testing lab, a vaccination clinic. We even moved ahead on several core value initiatives. We set up an environmental sustainability program, something very dear to my heart. We also developed a child care grant program. We hadn't had child care here for years. Now we have it. All of these actions and many other actions happened because everybody pulled together. Faculty and staff, the Senate's faculty and staff Senate, student government, leaders. I have to say, wow, we've really done a lot in the past 2 years. Did you know all of that? But we have not faltered. We have flourished. And one thing that I always keep in the front of my mind is our commitment to education. So to that end, we've also done a number of things to enhance our educators. Now, you know that UMB is full of very talented teachers. And yet I have to tell you, and I'm on this list, not one of us, or almost not one of us, have any formal education as educators. That's all I've done, taught my whole life, and yet I don't have any training in that. You know, we wouldn't think of putting a researcher in the lab, or my gosh, put a surgeon in the OR, or an attorney in the courtroom without years of preparation. But we do exactly that with our educators. We take a pharmacist or a social worker and put them in the classroom and expect them to be excellent. Now, it turns out they're often excellent, But don't you think we could prepare them better as teachers as well? And I know we can. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. I'm going to tell you about two today. One of them is the following visual image. Can you imagine that a fully trained dentist or pharmacist here who teaches our students also has a master's or a doctorate degree in education? We have so few of those. But today at UMB, and in our second year, we can now award those degrees. Our faculty can get a doctorate in education from UMB. And it's designed for people like you and me, working professionals in the health sciences. Now, we had to create this. We created this during the time of COVID. We were successful in it. We currently have 27 professionals enrolled in this program, and it's actually the largest program of its type in the country. Now, I don't know about you, but a doctorate in education for professionals at UMB, that's something I would never thought I would see, and yet we have that here now. You can get a doctoral degree in education. And in another program, we started a teaching academy committed to increasing faculty teaching skills. That academy is led by Dr. Donna Parker in the School of Medicine and Dr. Christina Sestone in the Provost office. Dr. Sestone is here today, so let me walk over. Christina, good afternoon.
Jarrell, thank you. Thanks for
Tell us a little bit about this teaching academy that you've started.
Well, I guess when I arrived here in 2019 and through COVID, I realized that there was a gap for educators who wanted to advance in their careers. And so the time was right for LEAPS. LEAPS is our Academy of Educators, and it's really been designed to help us develop and support the educational mission. So LEAPS will seed educational innovation. It will offer inspiration, ideas, advance educational research, celebrate our educators, and importantly, provide coaching and mentoring. So we're really excited about LEAPS. We hope you check out our website. We have a new website with events launching soon. And I think it's really important to fulfill the educational mission to invest in our educators.
Pretty neat. That's how we'll develop more master educators at UMB. That's how our faculty will become national experts, innovators in how to properly educate professional students to become great in their own right. I like that a lot. Our university's culture, its very fabric, has been tested these past years. But you know, it was woven well. Its strength has shown. Our mission and core values have come through very strong. People step forward everywhere, but I particularly want to thank our staff senate. They took on many strong leadership roles. But I also want to make sure we remember those frontline workers, the people that came in, day out, kept our place operating. Of course, the medical center was full of them, but so was the university. They kept us going. And of course, behind the scenes, perhaps you didn't see it, but our students volunteered to do so many things to help us out. We couldn't have done it without all of this. What a team. Of course, that's the UMB culture, isn't it? Dean Renee Hutchins is our new Dean of Law. She's here at the party. Now, she just came as Dean of Law. There she is. But she's been here for more than a decade before she just came back again. It's so nice to have you back.
Thank you.
She's an inspiring leader, I have to tell you. And she has a lot about passion about excellence of our culture. So Renee, how do we make our culture even more excellent than it is already?
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for inviting me to the party. We make it more excellent by leaning into the tremendously diverse and talented community of scholars and teachers and doers that we have here at the university. So I have to tout the law school really quickly. Speaking of excellence, we recently received word that we ranked #1 historically for women faculty. And #2 historically for women students. So it is exactly that kind of excellence that we want to celebrate and preserve and build upon. It is absolutely critically important. And we do that in part by celebrating the very talent that we have inside our walls, talent like today's award winners. So congratulations to you all. It is also critically important to celebrate and lean into the excellence of community because community is the cornerstone of democracy. And so celebrating community and building community is not about creating feel-good moments. It is about doing the groundwork that is essential to recognizing our nation's highest ideals. So that is why it is important to celebrate the excellence of community.
You can see why she's inspiring. Of course, she's also gotten me in trouble now with all the other deans who haven't gotten to brag on their schools. So I apologize ahead of time, okay? Also right next to me here is someone who also cares about culture. That's Dr. Diane Forbes-Berthoud, who is our new Vice President for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And there she is. I will tell you, in a university, or anywhere for that matter, excellence won't happen without having a focus also on equity. So Diane, where are we headed in our efforts to get an equitable university?
Thank you, Dr. Jarrell. Good afternoon, everyone. Since we're celebrating, UMB was recognized as Forbes 2022 Best Places to Work for Diversity. And this is based on the great work Dean Hutchins just mentioned, but primarily because of our diversity in our leadership and because of employee and industry recommendations of the university. So kudos to us, but there's still more work to do. And one of the efforts that I'm pleased to be leading with many of you here on campus is our first ever diversity strategic planning process. Where are we going to go without a plan? And so I'm pleased to be leading that, and as part of that, also building out, I heard talk about data earlier, building out a robust, transparent assessment and accountability system. And so I'm leading the creation and the development of the first ever state-of-the-art institutional dashboard. And that dashboard will be available to all of us in our community and all through World Wide Web, www. And we will be able to track all aspects of our organizational life and how well we're doing and areas we may need to improve. This is a game changer. And so we will be able to, for example, give you some more data, information and data on promotions, retentions, hiring. How are we looking in terms of representation of various groups in one shot over time, over a decade plus? So I'm pleased to be partnering with ITS and their great team on doing that. But it's not just about innovative maps and great tools. I do love that stuff, and we do get a lot done that way. It's also about creating concrete action and steps and building on what's already been done here. For example, increasing the representation of women and those who are underrepresented in their professions all across UMB to serve the state of Maryland and beyond, and continuing to build capacity and partnerships with our equity, diversity, and inclusion leaders all throughout our schools and units through my office. So very happy to partner with all of you, and it's an exciting time for diversity and equity at University of Maryland, Baltimore, and here we go. Let's get ready for the ride. Thank you, Dr. Jarrell.
That's called bringing passion to the job, don't you think? But for sure, our culture is strong, but you've just now heard how we can make it even stronger. We simply have to follow through. Commitment to Baltimore, especially West Baltimore, is in UMB's fabric as well. We have many community commitments, and a good example of that is our Founders Week Public Servant of the Year, Dr. Yolanda Agbalu from the School of Nursing. She is a scholar in healthcare disparities and social determinants of health, and she has built great trust with our community. Just like others at our school, and in particular the School of Pharmacy, some of you may know about the Patients Program. Professor Daniel Mullins. Some of you may know this because it's a decade-old program, really very effective. It does research through community participation, hand in hand with the community. And we saw just how much wonderful trust they had built with the community during the past years during COVID. But now they have something new that I think you should be excited about. It's called the Patients Professors Academy. Patients is the name of the program, where people in the community take a rigorous course in the School of Medicine. They earn the title Patients Professor. They're then qualified to teach. And what do they teach? They teach how to do research hand in hand with the community, how to do research relevant to the community. And now they have a whole new career advising people like you and me and companies and universities who want to do research with the community. Imagine that. Citizens from the community who are professors with us teaching us. Imagine the pride that they have in their accomplishment. And you should feel the pride that we have in having them as part of our institution. Of course, that's what an anchor institution should do. As part of my commitment to Baltimore on behalf of UMB, there are three major priorities I'd like to let you know about. And first, let's start with Dr. Perman's favorite, the kids. You all remember him. Baltimore will thrive when its youth thrive, but its youth have to have hope for the future. So we should be aiming to bring hope to our youth, hope that they have a future. But many of our youth live in violent communities, and to quote Dr. Tom Scalia, physician-in-chief of the Shock Trauma Center in the School of Medicine, who's here. Tom, where are you? There you are. But this is his quote, and I'm going to read it. I ask you, my beloved city, how many more parents do I have to tell that their children are dead. Do you all remember that quote? I remember it so vividly. And it tells you about the environment that our children are living in this city. How can you have hope when all that's happening around you? So we must be attentive as a university to this violence too. It's our problem too. So what are we going to do about it? Well, for one, we're starting a UMB Violence Prevention Center. This was announced several months ago, and it's 3 schools, social work, law, and the School of Medicine, along with the shock trauma unit and Dr. Scalia, to focus UMB's deep expertise on this intractable problem. And in another program, we call it the Utah Street Project. We also have, and Utah Street, some of you may know, is right outside the door here. That's Utah Street. And you know there's people doing questionable activities out there. And this Utah Street Project is to work with those disengaged youth, to provide them with support and guide them in ways to prevent them from having high-risk behaviors, to help them. This is led by Dr. Kyla Leggett-Creel in the School of Social Work, and also our own UMB Chief of Police, Tom Leone. How about that? Social workers working with the police in a collaborative way. That's a really big step forward, and I'm proud of it, and it'll have a big impact on Baltimore, I am sure. Of course, as a university, our goal should be to create more activities like this. We should figure out how to refine them, how to measure them, how to teach them, how to generalize them to the public to have an impact. Now, we already know how to bring some success to our youth, and there's a couple of programs some of you know about, the Promise Heights program in social work, the Community Engagement Center, and the Cure Scholars. And the Cure Scholars I want to spend a second on. Most of you know that this is a program that gets young men and women starting in 6th grade through the 12th grade. We now have our 7th cohort, so we've now had our first group graduate from high school. And 16 of those Cure Scholars have begun college. Is that not a phenomenal achievement? And I want to tip my hat, even though I don't have one on, I want to tip my hat to Chancellor Perman and Dr. Kevin Cullen, who's director of the Cancer Center in the School of Medicine. If Kevin, you're out there, thank you for your support in doing this and making this a wonderful, wonderful program. We have to continue it. A second priority we must have is community health. Baltimore will have to be a healthy community to thrive. I hope some of you know that the citizens in Baltimore have some of the worst health outcomes in the state. We need a much broader approach to community health. And I'm pleased to tell you that in concert with UMMC, we are working on a program that will be led by an associate vice president that will focus just on community health. Develop a comprehensive plan with our community and with all of the UMB schools and the medical center for the first time to have a focused approach on community health in Baltimore. We need that so much. Our third priority has to come under the category of economic empowerment. Baltimore will thrive when its citizens have increased opportunities to succeed and build their own businesses. Now at UMB, we've made some efforts. We already support a number of local businesses. We actually have this wonderful program called Live Near Your Work. We now have 68 members of the UMB family who have moved to homes in our West Baltimore community. This is a UMB program led by Dr. Dawn Rhodes, our Senior Vice President for Admin and Finance, and it's really making us even closer to the university. and the community. I also hope that we will have a kickoff soon, in the next month or two, about a new program to provide financial and administrative services to community not-for-profit organizations. We can help them get a foothold and be even stronger in the community. But none of this is enough. What else can we do? What else can we do to drive economic development to our neighbors in West Baltimore? And that gives me the opportunity to introduce you to somebody, Mr. Luke Cooper. Luke has been the UMB Presidential Scholar for the past year. Now, I bet you didn't even know we had one, but he's been busy, and he's going to tell you what he's been doing to help Baltimore citizens, particularly West Baltimore, and UMB make connections and build wealth in Baltimore. Luke?
Thank you, thank you. It's cold in your house, Dr. V.
Wear a jacket.
Indeed, good point. Yeah, I think my role is really about connecting the little with the big. There's a lot of disconnected things around any university, as you know. But in Baltimore in particular, we have a big problem. With 80% of our businesses in Baltimore, the black businesses, small businesses, are completely disconnected from procurement opportunities, and they're also completely underfunded, right? So a university, in my mind, has an obligation to connect these little dots, these little companies, these little opportunities to create wealth in their communities, to create asset values within their firms, to the big things and services that we need as a university. So when I think about, great success stories like Cindy J, Cosmetics in West Baltimore, and her ability to create contract manufacturing for cosmetics, and all the great things that come out of her business. I think about success stories like Marvin and his wife Aaliyah, who just started a food service business in West Baltimore to deliver healthy foods to the masses. I think about like big outcomes like Marco Chacon's company. There are things that benefit us tremendously as an institution that my job is to connect all of those dots to. So when I one of the things that gives me hope today with this community is all the people I have as allies that I get to work with, like Dawn Rhodes, on some of the processes that we need to keep an eye on that help us deliver vendors that are diverse to our community in a way that doesn't prevent them from using pro cards and other things that break that process. I get to work on some of the technical components that sometimes limit that process with Peter, my point guard, I call him. I get to work on delivering health and support to from people like Kevin, my friend who has the president, not Obama, he has one of the presidents on his wall. We talk about it often. There's lots of opportunity.
It's Obama.
It's Obama.
Yes.
It's Obama. It's Obama. But in my mind, there are lots of opportunities to connect the little with the big. And as an institution, our role is to do just that. So many of my objectives are related to that. I'm excited to be a part of such an institution that is doing all of these great things in our community. And I'll end with this last little tidbit. I know I went long, Dr. B. I'm in your house and I went long. But I'll end with this last little tidbit. I've been a very successful tech entrepreneur, created 2 very successful companies. One I sold for $15 million, one I sold for $55 million. They were good outcomes. But the last one, in particular, the kind of economic mobility that I want to create in West Baltimore was caused exactly by the things that I was doing in that company. The other week, one of my kids, my daughter's friends, came up to me in her school, and she said to me, Mr. Cooper, I know you. And I didn't know her. I didn't recognize her. And I asked her, well, what's your name? And she told me her mom. Her mom is a single black mom from West Baltimore, grew up in a single-parent household, never had college education, formal training, went to school in the city. Her kids go to school where my kids go to school, right? A school that costs $30,000+ a year to send them there. And so that is the kind of economic mobility that can happen when we connect the little with the big. And I'm excited to be a part of the university that cares so much about that mission. Thank you.
How about that? You know, I think that's one of the first things I learned from my mom, how to connect the dots. And that's, of course, what Luke is doing, connecting the dots between community businesses and the great depth of resources and expertise in UMB. So I like that a lot, and I hope you will all stay tuned in the coming months as we build out more of these programs. And then there is fundraising. Nothing is more critical to our success than fundraising. 5 years ago, we kicked off the Catalyst campaign. Then President Perman kicked it off. It was led by Dr. Ellen Yankelo and Mr. Brian Gibbons, who's here on stage. Our target was $750 million. I think that was a number that nobody here thought we would attain. Several months ago, we finished our Catalyst campaign, even a little early, and raised $778 million. 778. That's a phenomenal achievement, and I want to point out and thank Senior Vice President and Chief Development Officer, Mr. Jim Hughes, and all of the very able fundraising teams in each of our schools and at UMB. Now, you might ask yourself the question, what is the impact of all of this funds and fundraising? And sitting over there is Dean Jane Kersling. There she is, I see her. And beside her is Mr. Bill Conway, who, as you just saw earlier, on the stage, and you know about the wonderful gift that he has given to the School of Nursing, and 830 nurses are benefiting from this. What a phenomenal gift. Now, I'm going to say no one knows the impact of this better, the joy of this better, than both Mr. Conway and Dean Kersling together. So I want to ask each of them a question, and I'll let the Dean answer first and then Mr. Conway. So, Mr. Conway, what led you to giving such a generous gift like this? Phenomenal gift. And to Dean Kersling, Jane, what was the impact of all of this?
So I want you to imagine that you're a first-generation student, and you're trying to make ends meet, and you've got a couple of little kids at home, and you've been working as a certified nursing assistant in the nursing home, and you decide that you want to be a nurse. But you don't know how you're financially going to do that. But you go ahead, you fill out the application, you've taken your prereqs at the community college, and you get your admission to the University of Maryland School of Nursing, and you also get told that you will be a Conway Scholar. Or imagine that you're a second degree student, and you went and got a degree, a bachelor's degree, say in communications, and you've been working in the communications field, but you decide that you want to do something different. You want to have more interaction with people and with communities. So you apply to the University of Maryland School of Nursing, knowing that you're still paying off all those loans that you took for your first baccalaureate degree. And you get your application letter that says you've been admitted and that you're also a Conway Scholar. Or imagine that you graduated from high school, your father was a nurse, And he instilled in you that you needed to get your education, but you also needed to follow in his footsteps. So you've gone to the University of Maryland College Park, where you know that if you tell them you want to be a nurse at Maryland, you are guaranteed a spot as long as you meet the progression requirements. And you decide that you're going to go to the universities at Shady Grove so you can stay close to College Park, and you get your letter that says you're a Conway Scholar. You get full tuition, books, and fees. These are just 3 examples of the over 830 Maryland nurses who are benefiting from this phenomenal gift. So to Bill and Joanne Conway, you are touching individual lives, you're touching families, you're touching communities, but more importantly, you have invested in a profession that makes a difference every day, and we thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank Jane and President for not telling me I was supposed to say something. And in answer to your question, what brought my wife and I to decide to do this, it really began with a desire to create jobs, not so much to create nurses in the beginning. I had made a lot of money, and I gave this stupid interview to the Washington Post, and I said that I wanted to give away this money, but I wanted to create jobs, and if anybody has any good ideas, send me an email. And you wonder how I made a lot of money now, probably. Well, I received more than 3,000 emails, and a group of people at my company helped me, and they worked through this, and the idea that really came to the top was nursing, because there was an enormous shortage of nurses, and if someone could get a nursing degree, they could get a job, and they could take care of themselves, and they could take care of their families, and they could take care of the rest of us. And I actually have been in a hospital and had a couple of nurses come in and say to me, Mr. Conway, thank you for our scholarship. And of course, I never thought that would happen. And finally, to say why we also did it, I think that was important, is, and your stories about some of the people who were awarded the scholarships, was that I wanted the nurses to be able to do what they wanted to do. I didn't want them to have to work to try to pay off all their student debt and everything when they would have preferred to work in a clinic and make half as much money. I wanted them to be able to do what they wanted to do. And the scholarship generally lets a lot of them do that. Thank you.
That is transformational. And it was immediately transformational to these students. Scholarships like this go a long way for our university. And speaking of successful students, I'd like to recognize one student, an exceptional student as well, with Founders Week Student of the Year. Ms. Awishwara Iyer, an MD PhD student in the School of Medicine and a biochemistry student, a very humble, hardworking, inspired young woman, a superb student and researcher, active in student government, a great supporter of the university. You've earned this award, and we're proud of you. Aishwarya, where are you? Over the past minutes, you've heard a lot of things that have happened at UMB and many, many accomplishments. I'd like to just make one comment that each one of these accomplishments has an essential ingredient in it which often goes unseen or unnoticed. And that is, there are deans and vice presidents standing behind many of these things to make them happen. That's what they do, but that's essential to the functioning of this university. So I want to thank each of you up here and down there for your many activities in helping us. Thank you. I also want to thank those who made this production possible. There are many of them you know, Ms. Nancy Gordon, Ms. Clara Woodley, Ms. Monica Maggiano, Mr. Alex Lakowski, Mr. John Kuskar, and our Senior Vice President, Ms. Jennifer Lichman, who's here on stage. Jennifer. I want to give thanks to two major sponsors. One is the Whiting-Turner Company. Many of you know it, and Mr. Tim Regan. Tim has been a great friend of this university. Thank you. And also the Wexford and Ventas companies, the builders of our biopark. And some of you may have seen, and I think we have a picture there, of a new $320 million investment, a building called 4 MLK. It's on the corner of Baltimore and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It will change the face of our university, of our community, and it'll bring with it over 1,000 new jobs. And lastly, you all have heard a wonderful cellist here, and I want to give a hearty thanks to our cellist, Lachazar Kostov. He's the associate principal cellist for the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, and I hope we get to see him again. Lachazar. So over the past few years, we've accomplished a whole lot, and I'm here to tell you that the state of our university is strong. And it is you, all of us, who make it so, the UMB team, every member, every partner, every friend that we have. But you know how it goes. The job is never done. And like the surgeons in Korea, we also have a choice before us as well. Do we just accept the result, the current state of affairs that we see today, shrug our shoulders and move on? Or do we push back and ask the question, isn't there a better way to do this? I think there is a better way to do this, and I expect to see great breakthroughs in health sciences, leaps in education and teaching, progress in our social sciences towards curing social injustice and health inequities. All of these accomplishments I hope to see, I know I will see in the coming years. And yes, like the surgeons in Korea, we will need to innovate. We will need to discover the next vascular surgery or whatever it is. But you know, that's something we at UMB know how to do really, really well. And just like the surgeons in Korea, what they experienced, we will see the impact directly on people's lives. That's what we do. And we will feel joy when we move forward in our progress on these things. So yes, the state of our university is strong today, and our university's future is even stronger tomorrow. So for all of you who made that possible, I say cheers. Cheers.
Please join us in the second floor lobbies for a reception. Thank you.